Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today let's make a desert sunset gravity die. The setup that I'm using is I have 2 plastic sawhorses. Then on top of the sawhorses I've placed 2 pieces of vinyl guttering. I also have a plastic tote or container down below the guttering just to catch any of the runoff from the melting ice and dye. I have a metal rack placed over the 2 pieces of vinyl guttering, and I'm going to place one side of the shirt on the metal rack and scrunch it into the middle of the rack. I've drawn myself a line using a washable marker just kind of so that I have a little bit of a guideline for where I want the scrunch portion to be on the shirt. The shirt's kind of heavy, so I am sticking a few pieces of the fabric through the holes in the metal rack to hold it in place. That way it won't slide off into the container. Now to make myself an ice barrier, I'm going to use some silicone cake molds, and then to hold the silicone cake molds up next to the shirt, I'm going to attach some wooden clothespins to the metal rack. For this shirt, I'm going to start by adding just a little bit of ice to the top of the shirt. You don't have to. I've done this design both ways, by adding a little bit of ice and the dye over the top, or just placing the dye directly on the shirt. For a shirt where I do a scrunch, I think it looks great either way. So it's just a personal preference. I'm just going to try it this way this time. Adding the ice first gives a little bit softer look to the dye, and when you place the dye directly on the shirt, you can see a little bit of darker areas where the dye was initially placed. I'm going to randomly place the dyes on top of the shirt. And for this shirt, I'm going to use a variety of sunset type colors. I'm using Citrus Got Real, which that was a special 2022 Dharma, I think it was a muck color, so I don't think that one's available anymore. Then I'm using Bronze, Ox Blood Red, Brazil Nut, and Amber Waves, which are all Dharma Trading Company colors. Then I'm going to use Barn Red, Harvest Wheat, and Mustard Yellow from Pro Chemical and Dye. If you see the other piece of fabric hanging down, that is a dress that I am doing a gravity dye on at the same time. That's kind of one of the nice things about this setup, is I'm using long pieces of guttering so I can move the sawhorses back away from each other a ways and do 2 shirts at once. Or in this case, a shirt and a dress. Now I'm going to add some additional soda ash over the top of the dye because I'm going to continue adding ice to this shirt until the dye goes all the way to the outer edges of the fabric. So I may end up adding quite a bit of ice, and I want to make sure that the ice running through the shirt doesn't rinse out all that original soda ash that was in the shirt, because I do need the soda ash so that the dye will properly bond with the fabric. Then I'm going to place a large chunk of ice that I made in an old Cool Whip container on top of the dye. That'll help the ice melt just a little bit slower. It's really hot out here today, probably, I don't know, I keep saying it over and over again, but it's been over 100 degrees for days. So I kept checking the shirt and adding more ice as necessary. Once the dye got all the way down to the very outer edges of the fabric, I took the shirt and put it inside of a plastic container that had a rack down in the bottom, put the lid on the container, and I went ahead and left it outside in the sun. But I thought that putting it in a container would probably help it from drying out. And it did. I left it outside for about 12 more hours, and the inside of the container was steamy and the shirt was still damp. So I took it to my utility sink and I started rinsing it in cold water to rinse out the soda ash. Then I warmed the water up to hot and continued rinsing in hot water to rinse out any of the excess dye that didn't bond with the fabric. When the water was running almost clear, I put the shirt along with some Dharma's Professional Textile Detergent into my washing machine, and I washed the shirt using a hot water cycle. So now that the shirt has been washed and dried, this is what it looks like. Okay, so what do you guys think? I think this one's really pretty. The first thing I thought of when I looked at it was Desert Sunset, so that's how it got its name. I love the way the colors just flowed so smoothly down the shirt. The only thing that I would do differently if I were doing this shirt again is I would make a larger scrunch area. This shirt is a size 3X, so it's a little bit wider than some of the other shirts that I've done. And I think it would look prettier if it had a little bit more of a scrunch portion on the shirt. Don't get me wrong, I really like the streaky portion, where the dye moved down the shirt too. But I think it would look cool to have a little bit wider stripe of the scrunch area. I think the colors work great together though. I definitely think it gives off desert vibes, and I love the combination with the yellows, the browns, the reds. The orange isn't hugely prominent in this shirt, but it is there. There's a little bit there, but it's not the overwhelming color. I don't know if you guys have ever had this issue, but normally when I use orange on a shirt, it just seems to overtake everything. So I didn't use quite as much of the Citrus Got Real on the shirt as I did the other colors. For that very reason, I like orange, but I don't like it to overtake everything. So if you're interested in doing these gravity dyes, I learned a little trick with this batch of shirts and dresses and stuff that I did. And that is, if you're having problems with one area of the shirt or item with a dye not quite making it down into that space or that area the way you want it to, I took and put just a little bit of warm water into a cup and gently drizzled it over that area of the shirt. And then I backed up just a little bit from that area and drizzled it down where there was a little bit of dye already running into that area. That kind of helped force some of that dye down into that area where, for whatever reason, it kept stopping and not flowing fully into that space on the shirt. Your shirt still has to be damp though when you do that, because once the shirt dries out, then the bonding with the dye is over. So I caught that and added the additional water and got the dye to flow down all the way to the edges of the shirt before the shirt ever dried out. You can also take and spray your shirt with a little bit of soda ash solution to try to keep it damp throughout this process. So what do you guys think about this shirt? Do you like the colors? Do you think it looks like a desert sunset? I think it's really pretty. And if you watch a lot of my videos, you know that normally I don't migrate toward yellow and orange shirts. But I think this one is beautiful. But what do you guys think? Drop me a comment down below and let me know. And if you've enjoyed watching me make this shirt, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.